Hi, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. I welcome you. My name is Adnan. I'm talking about recent air war between India and Pakistan in May 2025. So let's talk about what weapons India had and Pakistan had, and which side did the tactical advancements and defensive systems we'll talk about. So let's begin with a list of various weapons that both countries had. So starting with Pakistan, it had the J-17 Thunder, then J-10C and Mirage and the Shahpur. The JF Thunder is a multi-role fighter co-developed with China, equipped with an AESA radar and capable of deploying PL-15 beyond visual range air-to-air missile. When I say beyond visual range, it means that an aircraft or a pilot or a system cannot physically monitor, or the radar cannot monitor where the drone is or equipment is of the enemy or the aircraft. So this is a new technology in which the Pakistani Air Force people, they can not see with the naked eyes, but they can sense with their sensors where the enemy's target is. Then the J-10C Vigorous Dragon is a Chinese-made 4.5 generation fighter with advanced avionics. When you talk about avionics is a field in aerospace and in air wars that deals with electrical, electronics, and telecommunication system. That is my research, and I can tell more about how the signals are produced and how the defensive measures are incorporated and implemented, and then their designs through various algorithms and AI-based algorithms, and the system works, it targets, focuses, targets, and attacks. So the radar system we talk about, notably a J-10C reportedly down in Indian Rafale during the conflict. Then it has a Mirage, older French origin aircraft modified to carry the raw two-air launched cruise missile, which has a range of approximately 550 kilometers and terrain following capabilities. When you call it terrain following capabilities, it means it understands where there's a mountain or a river or a tree or something. It understands the how far and how what is the height of the next obstacle. Either it's a moving object or it's a stationary object. Then we talk about Shahpur 3 UCAV. That's a domestically developed medium altitude, long endurance, unmanned combat aerial vehicles. Now, this is a vehicle that is developed within Pakistan. It's a medium altitude. That the altitude is not very high, because in the when you do the airstrikes, altitude matters. But most of the aircraft, they or the drones, they target other country, other territory within a certain altitude, not very high, because it has to drop, because it doesn't want to lose that force or the power for the height. So it's a medium range and long endurance unmanned combat. Then we talk about the air defense system that Pakistan had. It had HQ9 and ZDK-03 AWACS. The HQ9 is a Chinese long-range surface-to-air missile. Before we talked about air-to-air, that was JF-17, and now this is HQ9 is surface to air missile. Is like this. Before it was like this, air to air. Now we're talking about surface to air missile with a range of up to 200 kilometers, that it can range from the border or from where it starts, say from Risalpur or Kamra. So it will move. It will go up to 200 kilometers, and I can this way it can reach the borders. In HQ9, Berry in Lahore was reportedly destroyed by Indian forces during the conflict. But still, the system was there, air defense system, that was not destroyed. Then ZDK, an airborne early warning and control system based on Shan X Y8 platform, providing extended radar coverage and barrel management capabilities. Like this system actually extends the radar coverage, it gives like a feedback kind of a thing or support to the basic air defense. system. That the technical approach that Pakistan used, that Pakistan employed a combination of manned aircraft and unmanned systems to conduct precision strikes and gather intelligence. The use of J-10C fighters equipped with PL-15E missiles allowed for engagements beyond visual range, while Sharper 3 drones provided real-time ISR data. ISR data is required because you have to have the mapping, the altitude, the longitude, the latitude of the target where it has to target. So, however, the reliance on Chinese made systems exposed vulnerabilities, and Indian forces were able to intercept and neutralize several threats, including Turkish drones and Chinese missiles. So, we will talk about how Pakistan intruded and it destroyed some of their system, and the same was done by the India. But overall, I'm giving you a very neutral perspective. Pakistan damaged more the Indian defense system. So the Air Force and aircraft munition. Now we'll talk about India. India had a Rafale and Su-30 MKI and Tejas. These are the Air Force aircraft and munitions. And the Indian air defense system was S4 400 Sudarshan Chakra and Akash and QRSAM. So the Rafale, a French-made multi-role fighter equipped with when we say multi-role, it can move like it can do more rollings. Equipped with advanced avionics and capable of deploying SKALP air-to-ground cruise missile. So it had the air-to-ground, like it will hit from the air, it will hit from the air to ground. The To understand this, the difference between Rafale and JF Thunder. JF Thunder is air to air. Like when two of the aircraft or enemy's aircrafts are in front or somewhere in the air, not actually in front, somewhere in the air, they can that works. But Rafale is the one that can do an air to ground. Like if the some installations are there on the ground, it can do from air. So we have not talked about anything that can do from air to air. So let's talk about Su 30 MKI, a Russian origin multi-role fighter used for air superiority and ground attack missions. This was used in the Tejas MKI A, the 1A, an indigenous light combat aircraft with modern avionics and weapon systems. This is made by India. Now, the air defense system that India had, the S-400, which was badly damaged by Pakistan. This is a Russian-made long-range surface-to-air missiles. Now we're talking about surface. Again, there are two strategies that India adopted that those were same actually, surface-to-air and surface-to-air. Rafale is surface-to-air, S-400 is surface-to-air system capable of engaging targets up to 400 kilometers. Like if it has to engage a target, it has to engage it up to 400 kilometers. It played a crucial role in intercepting Pakistan's aerial threats during the conflict. Whereas Pakistan has an edge with the JF-17 Thunder that has air-to-air capability, whereas Pakistan's defense system that has from ground to air strategy as well. Let's talk about Akash and indigenously developed a medium range surface to air missile system designed to protect against aerial threats. This was Akash and QRSAM, a quick reaction surface to again, it's when I say surface to air missile with a range of 30 kilometers, designed to protect moving armored columns for aerial attacks. Vishorad, a very short-range air defense system designed to neutralize low-altitude aerial threats, including drones and helicopters. So, and then where there was Akash Tir, an automated air defense control and reporting system that integrates various sensors and weapon systems. So let's do a comparative analysis. Let's talk about the about Pakistan and India. When we talk about fighter aircraft, Pakistan has F-17J, 10C, and Mirage, where India had Rafale Su-30 MK and Tejas MK 1A. For the unmanned aircrafts vehicle, Pakistan had Shepherd, where India is not specified, nobody knows. For the air defense, Pakistan had H-9ZK-03 AWS, whereas India has S-400, Akash, QRSAM, V-Sharad, and Akash Tir. These are like three or four different. So what India had almost four or five different air defense systems. Pakistan had two, but still Pakistan's attack strategy was very well defined that it damaged the S-400. The missiles, Pakistan had 15 PL-15E and Rod 2, whereas India has Scalp and Akash and QRSM. So when we say Akash and QRSM, I already mentioned it in air defense. So they also have the same in the missiles. So we cannot repeat it. For the command system, Pakistan had ZDKAWACS because there has to be a command system that gives directions, instructions to the system, and whereas India had the Akash Tir integrated with air command system. So India's integrated approach to air defense, combining various missile systems with advanced command and control intelligence, provided a robust shield against aerial threats. Whereas when we talk about Pakistan's tactical approach, Pakistan employed a combination of manned aircraft and unmanned systems to conduct precision strikes and gather intelligence. So the use of J-10C for Pakistan's fighter equipped with PL-15E missiles allowed for engagements beyond visual range. This is very important because mostly engagements that India did that was within the visual range, whereas Pakistan did beyond the visual range. So the Pakistan's technical and uh, tactical superiority, a strategic perspective, very neutral perspective is tactical flexibility through layered air command. This is what Pakistan followed. The Pakistan Air Force adopted a mission command philosophy. So we will talk more about the mission command philosophy that allows for decentralized execution under centralized strategies goals. So those who understand the managerial strategic strategies, they can better understand that what is a decentralized execution. Like there are so many different units which are controlled from by a centralized strategic system, but you decentralize each and every and then execute and then you move on to next or parallel execution of the decentralized systems. So this enables flexibility, especially under heavy electronic warfare conditions. The ZDKO3AWACS and ground-based command and control C2 systems allowed for four things. One, it was the dynamic target reassignment. Like the, what is a dynamic target? If a target is static, it's like military installation or a building that is a static target. Dynamic target is like something is moving, some drone or aircraft. So it's like to do it, a assignment is like you did something, but like you approached it, then the object moved, then you do reassignments. This is one way of doing it. Sometimes you do an error and you have to do a dynamic target reassignments. You have to reset it many times. Then the real time threat assessment. So the system actually randomly picks the most objective target, that is real-time threat assessment. Let's say there are four or five different possibilities of damages from the enemy. So the system actually in real time assesses a threat. So which threat is most fatal. So it goes for that first. Third is the secure data link coordination between airborne and ground units. This is very important that if the control towers or you have some control center mechanism, it is not coordinating with and constructive interference with the secure data link coordination, that there is a possibility that your airborne system and the ground units, they are not properly aligned and you're finished. Then this is what Pakistan did the best: integrated response timing between offensive UCAW strikes and managed airstrike sorties. So in this, they did the integrated response timing. This is very important. Those who understand the Air Force strategy, that if there is a response that okay, targeted attack it from certain height, and there is another like to target another or the same or multiple dynamic targets from the ground. So your timing is very important. So there are algorithms, there are artificial intelligence based algorithms which integrate response timing. So this was the edge that Pakistan had over India, that was integrated response timing. Now we talk about the precision targeting of Indian military installations. Pakistan Air Force executed surgical strikes using low RCS aircraft. Why this low RCS aircraft are used? Because their range is like you can focus it, because this is very dangerous as well if you have a low RCS aircraft drones to attack the enemy, but you have to do from a very near approach. So the using low RCS aircraft, drones, and terrain hugging cruise missiles. So when we talk about terrain hugging, like it should hug, it should be close enough. It should know the geography, the demography of the targets, the height of the building, trees, antennas, mountains, rivers, cars, whatever is moving. You should have a system that can tell you actually that about the terrain. So you have to have a cruise missile that is terrain hugging. Notable examples, for example, is the one the Pakistan had, Mirage 3 5 Rod 2 ALCM. Flight profile is launched at medium altitude. The rod descended to 100-meter AGL using TERCOM, terrain contour matching. Why we call it terrain contour matching? Because the terrain, the land, or the space is not like this. It's not uniform. There's a contour. So to have to make sure that you are targeting, you are attacking a target that with a terrain contour matching system. And INS GPS navigation. So GPS navigation is one of the tactics of the technology that is incorporated in it. Then now we talk about targets for the precision targeting of Indian military installations. What Pakistan did is its targets was Indian Air Force radar post near Ganganagar. So there is a space, there is a place, Ganganagar, where the Air Force radar posts were there, like because they are actually also following and monitoring our objects and the drones. So the forward army ammunition depots that was in Rajasthan, whereas the Air Force radar posts they were in Ganganagar. So Ganganagar in Rajasthan. So for the forward army ammunition depots, they were in Rajasthan. So that Pakistan attacked over there. So why it is tactical? The question is why it is tactical. What Pakistan did, what India could or couldn't. What was the strategy? So the tactical thing is that terrain following fight enabled penetration through Indian radar zones. This is very important. If you are not following the contour matching terrain and you're just doing it, taking it like a clear mapping, it's not going to work. So RAD-2 subsonic invasive maneuver profile made it difficult for Akash QRSAM batteries to lock on. So what actually was happening? Because the missile or the equipment that we are sending in India, that was a RAD-2 that was subsonic, like less than the sound of the speed of the sound. That was invasive maneuver profile that it made it difficult for the Akash. So the Akash batteries, they could not lock it because it was moving all the time, following the terrain. Movement is not important. Important thing is it is following the contour mapping and the terrains. Then next was JF-17 Block 3 with PL-15E BVR missiles. Electronic support measures, ECMs, we call it ECM, electronic support measures, used to jam Indian radar during escort. When they were doing the escort, they jammed it first, like before making a target, they jammed the system because just this is what makes them easy. That sometimes as the people do chaffing. Chaffing is a technique where the aircraft throws a little pieces of metals in front of the aircraft just so that the radar cannot detect it, like either it's an aircraft or some of the objects, because in the display they look like dotted objects. So JF-17 conducted standoff jamming and air superiority coverage while UCAW and missile struck ground targets. To standoff jamming and air superiority coverage. What is the standoff jamming? Standoff jamming is like to you halt the system for few seconds, for few minutes, until you move from that location to another. So what is happening actually, because of the, when we say signal jamming, it's not like they just jammed and signals are not working. Signals of the enemy, they're not working at all. They are working, but with a delay. Let's say your aircraft or drone is here, and their signals is jammed. It is feeling like it's here. So by that time you moved ahead. It is like, let's say, 10 seconds delay. This is what happens. So PL-15E is 160 to 200-kilometer range, exceeded the detection envelope of the India's Teja and Su-30 NK eye radars in cluttered terrain. When we call it cluttered terrain, it means that the terrain is difficult. Like it is somewhere in the trees, in the mountains, in the very congested city area, or buildings, and where traffic is there, transport is there. That is called cluttered terrain. So in that, with 160 200 kilometers range, exceeded the detection envelope. So India's Teja system, that has a detection envelope. You must be thinking of an envelope where you put the letter in. The envelope is a package, is a system in which mm, uh, those ground units of the any enemy, India or Pakistan, they can detect the movements, the approach of the other side. So what they did actually, Pakistan, they exceeded the detection envelope. So let's say a detection envelope has some range. So Pakistan exceeded that range. Then now we talk about use of UCAVs for suppression of enemy air defenses. SEAD we call it. So Sharper 3 UCAV integrated ISR strikes. So what is the role? Role is identify radar emissions and relay back to the main manned assets for targeting. What it does is like it our system, the Sharper, that identify the radar emission, whose radar emissions, Indians, and relay back whatever emissions were coming, they reflected it back to manned assets for targeting. So wherever the people were sitting, actually the human beings were sitting, those emissions of radar, they were thrown back, reflected back to those targets. Now we talk about munition, Barak 2, ATGM, LGB, laser guided bombs. So they used the laser guided bombs, Barak 2 ATGM, and that was the munition. Now the targets. Indian Akash and QRSAM launchers, they were our targets. Mobile command post near LOC, they were the targets. Tactical strategy, that where Pakistan supersedes India, was in tactical strategy that Pakistan operated in swarm formation with AI assisted flight coordination. When we call swarm formation, is like having little objects like penetrating and actually blackmailing. I would love to use the word blackmailing the radar system. That radar system cannot detect, or it is detecting in error of the enemy in the enemy's radar, and it operates in swarm formation with AI assisted flight coordination. Because if you just do it and without an artificial assisted system or algorithms with the flight coordination, because there has to be a coordination between the movement of the object and its maneuvering as well, maneuvering and dodging the enemy's radar. Now we talk about distributed lethality, ensured that even if one drone was down, the rest maintained ISR coverage. Let's say Pakistan sent, as per Pakistan statements, 80, 70, or 80, whatever number, I'm not sure. So let's say if your drone number one, two, three, four, if they are being down, so still you have to maintain an ISR coverage. ISR coverage is like you have an area of other not following the same path, but it is followed by some other path and merging into the enemy's borders. Then another was the mobile command post near LOC. That is was the target. Now the last is the relayed emissions signatures of 5 band radar to Pakistan EW teams for electronic attack. So they relayed the emissions, as I said before, of the data, the signatures. Signature is a kind of the authenticity, so just to make sure that the envelope or the capsule of the electron, not the capsule like this, or a capsule means an explosive. I'm talking about the communication signals that relay the emission signatures of 5 band radars. Because radars, they also have different bands, different bandwidths, different envelopes of the frequency where they work. Now, let's talk about electronic warfare, EW radar jamming superiority. How Pakistan jammed their radar, electronic warfare. DK03AWAS ECM pods. This is the technology. This is what they did is they carry data link relay nodes to maintain connectivity across theater. So there was a data link relay nodes too, because in every telecommunication systems, communication system, you have various nodes where data comes and goes back, transmission, reception happens. So the data link relay, a data link at one load is to what they did is they carried data link relay nodes to maintain connectivity across the theaters. What we call it across the theater, across various displays, so there has to be a data relay. They use Pakistan use cross eye jamming and spot jamming techniques to blind Indian ground based air defenses during airstrikes. Like if they are totally prepared, if the Pakistan's object is coming and we will do this, and they are well prepared. So what they did is they did a cross eye jamming and spot jamming techniques. Cross eye jamming is like uh, it is a jamming technique when you let's say there are two persons and they are crossing the eyes that in between the terrestrial objects between the two. So this is a eye jamming, and the spot jamming is a technique where you do the jamming when you reach a spot or at particular spots, not you do it well in advance. Reportedly, the Pakistan used DRFM, digital radio frequency memory, spoofing to send false echoes to S-400 radars, causing misfire and delayed response. Remember when I was in another video, I was talking about to know where the object of the enemy is or an obstacle in front of you, you send some signals. Either it's an electromagnetic radio frequency or a light signal, and once it goes and comes back, you understand this is the speed and this is the time it came back, so that the enemy, the object is at that certain distance. What is actually happened here is when you do spoofing is like to you are creating some false echoes. Like, okay, although let's say it is 100 kilometers away, our aircraft is 100 kilometers away from the enemy, but we produce some false echoes. We started sending some other signals in the air showing that we are 200 kilometers away or we are 50 kilometers near to India. So somehow these are the techniques they will use, causing that causes misfire. So when if you know that the target is not it is not where you specified, you do a misfire, and this or your response is delayed. Now that's the another thing is escort. JF-17 equipped with KG-300G ECM pods. The function is wideband active jamming or KU and X band radars. I'll talk about wideband active jamming because when we talk about band, that is related to the bandwidth that we calculate with the power, the decibel power, the power of the signal, and it has let's say 50 megahertz. If it is a wide band, it becomes more wider, and in that pool, it's easy to do the active jamming. So this is what they did, and for the advantage was for the Escort GF-17 equipped with KG 300G SIM pods was jammed Indian fire control radars guiding V-SHORAD and Akash missile, because these were the two technologies they were using in air defense. VSHORAD, V-SHORAD, and Akash missiles. They were there, so they jammed the Indian fire control radar. One is they deceived by spoofing, and then they did cross eye jamming, they did spot jamming, then the data link, they carried data link relay loads for the theaters, and eventually not only doing the falsify signals, they also then jammed the Indian fire control radars. Now, the PAF, Pakistan Air Force Strategy, asymmetric air superiority doctrine was Pakistan recognized India's numerical and technological edge. For example, S-400 Rafale. So it adopted asymmetric strategies to negate that India's strength and the PF counter. Let's say this is the strength of India, how we counter it. S-400 Akash coverage, how we counter it. Rod 2 terrain following cruise missiles to stay under the radar lobe. That's like the lobe you have here. That something is, like when you call it lobe, something is flowing here. You are here. You don't know, just to make you understand. So something is passing. This is what the Rod 2 terrain following. As I said, it was a controlled terrain algorithms that we use. So this is how we did a lot to train following cruise missiles to stay under radar lobe. Then for Su-300 MKI and Rafale BVR capability, we used PL-15E missile longer range and AWAC queued intercepts. So when I said queued intercepts, it means they are in a they are knotted or queued. They are following an array of the intercepts. So if this happens, we will do this interception. This happens, we will do this interception. Now, when India has another asymmetric air superiority doctrine of Pakistan is the for the Akash, the C2 network of India, Pakistan UCAV driven disruption of battlefield communications and jamming of C2 nodes. What they did is, what is this UCAW driven disruption of battlefield communication? When there's a battlefield, air to air, air to ground, ground to air, there are so many signals in the atmosphere. And sometimes, in other words, in the space as well, if the satellites are included for communication, so battlefield communication and jamming of C2 nodes. So this is what they did for overall environment of the war. Then India had dense SAM layers. So what Pakistan did is they did a saturation strategy, saturation tactics using drone swarms and decoys, MALD like prototypes. Like there were some swarms that the India realized, and India understood that this is an object, but it was a swarm and decoy. So let's just do a final conclusion. Why Pakistan strategy was more tactical? Now, this was all technical. Let's make it in a layman's language. Despite facing India's superior long-range SAM coverage S-400, larger air fleet that India had more than Pakistan, and more powerful C2 systems. What Pakistan did, how Pakistan won it. Pakistan executed a modern hybrid air campaign that emphasized what? Four things. One, speed and stealth. Two, lower level strikes. Electronic dominance, as spoke about jamming and spoofing and all techniques. Then the network assets, AWS and UCAVs, this is what Pakistan used. Then the force multiplication through precision munition, because the explosive and the chemicals or whatever explosives we had, the payloads we did the precision munition and technical drone warfare. So this reduced dependency on brute force and leveraged tactical superiority per unit, a hallmark of 21st century asymmetric air warfare. This is what I wanted to explain. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.